Hey, good morning. It's Joel Mark Witt for folkmedia.org. If you're at this website, you probably want to know more about social media and how social media, things like Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Flickr and all these other different platforms can be used for your business or nonprofit to help you earn more money, market better, reach out in public relations, or raise money if you're a nonprofit. These are probably things that are rolling around your head. You're like, I know this stuff works, but how do I use it? I'd like to talk about that real quick. Why social media I think is so important, what it actually is, how you can start using it, and then I'd like to give you some action steps that you can do right away to begin implementing social media right now. So why is social media so important? Well, first off, it's where the people are gathering right now. You see budget cuts in TV, radio, newspapers. These old paradigms of media aren't going to go away anytime soon, but they are in decline. And social media is actually on the rise. Facebook has so many people. It's over 300 million users now, that if it was a country, it would be the fourth largest country in the world. So there's a lot of people on Facebook, for example. YouTube. If you took the four major networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, combined all of their viewership on an average day, YouTube surpasses their viewership. That's how big YouTube is. There's over 100 million videos posted on YouTube that people are watching all the time, 24/7 around the world. And obviously the internet gives us a global audience of over 6 billion people, potential audience of over 6 billion people. So the internet, and particularly social media, is growing, it's important, and I like to use this analogy. If you remember back in the 1990s when you first started using Word and Excel and email, these are probably three things that were very new to you back then. You're beginning to use Word as a word processor, Excel as a spreadsheet application, and email to communicate with colleagues and customers and other people. These were new things that if you went to a job interview and you didn't know how to use one of these, it was probably no big deal. They were kind of like, well, this new technology, you'll get up to speed and all that. But go to a job interview today and tell your potential employer that you don't know how to use Word, you don't know how to use Excel, and you don't know how to use email, and tell me if you get hired. So I think that social media, we're at the point where we were in the 1990s with email, Word, and Excel. We're at that point right now with Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn. That it's kind of like, okay, if you don't know it, that's okay. But in 2 years or less, if you don't know how to use these social media applications, you are going to be left behind, just like someone that never picked up email. You know that guy that works at your business, or your uncle who's probably just never got onto the email bandwagon, basically, which is not really a bandwagon, it's a very important application. You know that person, and they just never got on to the whole email thing, and they kind of just started slipping away in their career, in their life, in their professional life. And it was probably okay for them, they were probably older, ready to retire. But don't let that be you with social media. Obviously, it's changing so quickly, you need to understand how to use it. So I think that's kind of the why social media is so important for you, particularly in your business or nonprofit. What is social media? Well, I talked about Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. Really, there's four things you can do online. You can post text, you can post photos, you can post audio, and you can post video. And most social networks revolve around one of those types of media. And that's really what social media is. It's sharing things. It's a real-time conversation online. It's what's happening right now, able to communicate in real time online. One of the most exciting things about social media is it's a very approachable type of marketing and PR solution. So, for example, the name of our company is Folk Media, and I think that folk represents people, average people making media. I'm making this video using a laptop with a camera this big on a laptop, very simple, in my home studio office, and I'm able to communicate with you and have a potential audience of over 6 billion people from a laptop that probably cost me around $1,200 to buy. So media now is no longer in the hands of people who own a multi-million-dollar television station or multiple newspapers. We now are all self-publishers. We all have the power to be able to self-publish. And social media enables us not only to publish to the internet, but also interact with our fans, our constituents, and our potential customers or clients in real time, which is extremely powerful. So how do you get started with social media? Well, here's a couple things I think you should do. I think, obviously, a lot of people recommend you listen to what's going on out there first. So head over to Twitter. Twitter's a great place to start for this. And I want you to go to search.twitter.com. And I want you to enter a keyword or phrase around your industry or business or nonprofit. So, for example, let's say that you are in the insurance business. So go ahead and enter whatever city that you live in and insurance and see what kind of phrases, what kind of comments, what kind of discussions come up in real time on Twitter. You don't need to worry about how to use Twitter right now if you're brand new, but just go over to search.twitter.com and enter that search term and just get a feel for how things work. Whatever industry you're in, whatever business you're in, and whatever city you live in, just use some of those combinations of keywords. I'd recommend you do that. You're going to get a sense of what's happening in real time. You may not see any conversation at all around your business or industry. You know, if you're in a very particular niche or industry that doesn't maybe converse in the language you think they converse in, it'll show you that as well. But it's a key indicator to see who's talking about you already. And then I think also another thing is to make yourself familiar. Browse this website, read some of the articles we posted here. There's a lot of free resources that we have that will help you get started. So what's your action step? What action can you take right now to get started in social media? Obviously, I gave you two things you can do. You can go over to search.twitter.com and you can begin typing in some search terms and see what comes up, what people are talking about right now. Also, you can read some of the articles we have here. But thirdly, if you'd like to see part 2 of this video, which I'm going to cover the first 5 things you need to do with social media. I'm going to talk about specifically, step by step, the first 5 things to do if you're brand new to social media. You don't even know what Twitter is. You're like, what is he talking about? Go to search.twitter.com. What does he mean by that? Well, you know about email, so go ahead and enter your email and name below, directly below this video. And once you do that, you click submit. You'll be taken to part 2 of this video where I'll talk about the first 5 things that you need to do as a beginner in social media. If you're sort of new to social media, you have a few profiles set up, I recommend you watch this video also because it will give you a great foundation for what to go and do next in your social media online presence. So go ahead right now, take the next step, the first step, and enter your name and email directly below this video so we can get started.